It's not important.
It's not really that important.
Well, even if they spin and dance, there may be an explanation. So.
And then as for EVPs are great. They're wonderful. But EVPs are also pareidolia holes, if you want my honest opinion. And pareidolia is what happens when you hear something or see something that isn't really there. Mm-hmm. And what I'm talking about is if you record an EVP and you can't make out what it says, and then someone says, I think they're saying fish are smart, then every time you listen to that EVP afterwards, you're going to hear fish are smart. Because that's what you're expecting to hear.
Mm. You're going to hear fish are smart because it's tricking your brain into thinking, hey, that's what it's saying every single time.
Right. It's like if you go and find the original Woodstock album, there is a band on that album, Country Joe and the Fish. And they get the audience to spell muck, M-U-C-K. You can hear them say it. The band is, give me an M, give me a U, give me a C, give me a K. Now, I don't know what the audience is yelling, but I'll tell you, I do not hear the word muck. I hear an F in front of that every time. And I've been told by people that, no, they did say muck. No, that's not what I hear. And that's pareidolia.
Gotcha.
So EVPs are one of those things like, yeah, they're cool, but I'm going to take them on a case-by-case basis. Because there are some that I've heard that I absolutely know what they're saying. And then there's others that I've heard that I absolutely can't make it out.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair.
Now, this next place, I'm going to call it the Old Caves. It's also sometimes known as the Old Devil Worship Caves.
Wow.
But here's
warm and fuzzy.
Here's the problem with that. I can't find any corroboration of devil worship there. No police reports, no.
And there probably wasn't any.
It's located in North St. Joseph, just off Waterworks Road. Place is rumored to have been a site of devil worship and a Klan torture murder. And that doesn't seem likely either, because that would have been in the 1960s. And again, I find no record of it. While the history for those things do not pan out, people have heard male and female voices near here. And people have seen a Civil War soldier wounded riding a black horse in the area.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I can't speak for devil worship and torture murders, but there does appear to be a ghost of a Civil War soldier.
Okay, then.
Or an extremely long-lived crazy person in a Civil War outfit. I don't know which.
Either one's possible.
I'm going to say the ghost is actually more possible in that scenario.
Sure.
Now we're going to go to the Mount Mora Cemetery. Mount Mora is the final resting place of some of St. Joseph's richest and best-known people. 3 former governors, a Pony Express rider, and several politicians are buried there. But after 10 p.m. on most nights, an African-American woman in a lavender cape, called the Lavender Lady,
sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does, but it's a different Lavender Lady. I tried to make that connection. Okay, for those that don't entirely know, if you go and listen to our show on Lemp Mansion, one of the people that lived in Lemp Mansion actually was married to William Lemp, was a woman called the Lavender Lady, because she always wore lavender. The different lady, though. This is a different lady, not the same one. But she's been seen walking the paths of the graveyard after 10 o'clock at night.
Alrighty.
So I'm going to say that's one of those repetitive hauntings where because I cannot find anywhere where she's done anything more than walk those paths.
I mean, yep, that sounds pretty repetitive to me.
And so if that's the case, then it's like the stone tape theory. It's like somehow that got recorded by the area and it just replays it every so often.
Yep.
So now let's talk about the haunted bridge on Mason Road. And I've actually been here, but I'd forgotten about it. If you are driving down Mason Road on the south end of St. Joseph and see a bridge, pull under it and turn off your lights and your car.
How about that?
It is said that anything from a green orb to an apparition of a woman carrying her own severed head will make their way towards your car.
Yeah, no.
Those who have claimed to see any of these phenomena were very disturbed by them.
Well, you think?
Now, when we did it, yes, we saw a green orb. But since then, well, I might have been 12, maybe. Wow. I mean, I was real young. I was maybe Krysta's age. And so I just remember being terrified that they'd stopped under this bridge and turned off the car, and I just wanted to get out of there. No, it was my Aunt Sherry and a couple of her friends.
Of course it was Aunt Sherry. Why was I even asking? Of course it was Aunt Sherry.
But I was just ready to go, and my aunt was like, just hush, it'll be fun. Just hush. And yeah, we saw the orb, and after that, I was really ready to go. So I was 12, I was frightened out of my mind. They could have been playing a joke on me with one of their friends. I don't know. So I don't trust my own experiences there. But I'm not the only one who reports on things there. And in fact, I was going to say, Krysta, if you ever want to, we can go to St. Joe and go under the bridge.
If you tell me where you want to go under that bridge, I will personally bop you in the nose.
I suggest you stop talking, Dad.
I'm going to shush now.
Yeah, you don't want to get popped in the nose.
So that's another thing. Now, there's the King Hill Cemetery. This is the oldest Christian cemetery in St. Joseph. Supposedly, it was also a Native American burial site at one point as well, which brings me to a point that I have often thought that some places are just spiritual, and like more than one religion takes advantage of that, and this is not the only place like that, where like the Native Americans worship something there, and then later they build a church on it. That sort of. So that speaks to me, because it usually somebody somewhere. It is also believed to contain the grave of Nancy Hawley, who is believed to be a witch. According to some stories, she was killed by the town. According to other stories, she simply died. Many report seeing her spirit, as well as orbs bobbing around the cemetery to this day. Also, supposedly, the last resting place of a pioneer girl killed in an attack by Native Americans, which is almost certainly untrue because very few Native American tribes killed women. In fact, well, see, that was a thing that they didn't like about white people, is that the white man, as they called him at the time, when they would attack villages, would kill everybody indiscriminately. Whereas Native Americans, most of them would kill other soldiers, but would leave families alone. They didn't kill women. They didn't kill children. So the idea that they killed this woman is
dumb.
A little bit hard to swallow.
It's unlikely, like I said.
Right.
Some claim her ghost can still be seen there. Also, orbs and EVPs are regularly recorded by local ghost hunting groups.
Cool.
Isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Then there's the Jesse James home. This is the house where Jesse James was killed. It's basically a tourist attraction now. It's actually a farm. They call it the Jesse James Farm. But it's a tourist attraction. Many have reported seeing the apparition of Jesse himself, as well as others. People also report time slips where they swear they are in the house back around the time of Jesse's death.
Okay.
Ghost hunting teams have caught multiple EVPs, and it is believed that Jesse James himself does some of the haunting. So, there we go.
I mean, I think he purported to kind of have a good sense of humor back when he was alive.
Up to a point.
Yeah.
Up to a point.
So him haunting the place where he died seems like it's definitely a possibility, I would say.
I heard a story once about Jesse James, and I don't remember where I heard it. It's very possible it was on an episode of Astonishing Legends, but I don't swear to that's the case. But Jesse James, at one point, he's on the run, and he turns up at this lady's house.
Yeah, I actually think it was on Histories at the Museum.
Could be. Could be. Turns up at this lady's house, and like he asked for something to eat, and so she makes him a meal, and he eats it, and then he's like, "Why don't you have? Where is everything? Why don't you have anything?" And she's explaining to him that she's about to lose her place. She doesn't have any money. She just doesn't have any hope, and so he's like, "Okay." And he hands her like the $1,500 or whatever it is she needs to pay off the note, right, that she owes. And she's like, you give this to the guy that comes from the bank tomorrow, and you make sure to get a receipt.
Mm-hmm.
And so she does, and she gets the receipt. And like as soon as the guy leaves, money in hand, Jesse turns up and robs him.
Yep.
So I would call that a good sense of humor.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I was referring to, actually.
So the next place we're going to talk about is the Wyath Toodle Mansion.
Okay.
It's an imposing Gothic-style mansion. It was commissioned by William and Eliza Wyath, built in 1879. William Wyath had developed his small business into the successful Wyath Hardware and Manufacturing Company and Wyath Saddle Factory. The couple's mansion was built with over 1 million bricks and a turret on the north side, leading the home to be called the Castle on the Hill, and sometimes just the House on the Hill, which is what it's called today.
I see.
The family resided in the front part of the house with ornate parquet floors and walnut woodwork. They entertained in the large rooms on the first floor and slept in the bedroom suites on the second. The third floor housed servants in their workrooms. In 1887, the Wyath mansion was sold to the widow Kate Toodle. Her recently deceased husband, Milton Toodle Sr., is credited with creating St. Joseph's Golden Age and was one of the richest residents of the area. The couple's son and wife, Milton Toodle Jr. and Lillian Toodle, became the next residents of the Wyath Toodle Mansion, and both died in their home in the 1930s and 40s. The mansion's ownership passed to the city of St. Joseph and became the St. Joseph Museum headquarters before the museum moved to the site of the Glore Psychiatric Hospital nearby. Now, paranormal teams and skeptics alike have visited the Wyath Toodle Mansion, leaving as converted believers in its ethereal residence, one of which is said to be a male spirit who inhabits the third floor. Others are possibly servants whose voices are heard and apparitions are seen throughout the Wyath Toodle Mansion. Paranormal investigators visiting the mansion in 2015 reported plenty of spooky activity in the house, from shadowy figures on the stairs to the feeling of curious small children in one of the second floor rooms. One ghost hunter clearly felt the spirit of a welcoming servant or governess, still keen to keep the house in order. There are also reports of unexplained cold spots in parts of the house that make visitors' hairs stand on end.
Wow.
Feel, watch, and experience their emotion change with unexplained stirrings in the environment. In 2017, another group of investigators held a charity event at the mansion. They recorded unknown voices at the base of the tower in the basement, in the entrance hallway, and in one of the rooms, declaring that once again Wyath Toodle's paranormal activity did not disappoint. There is little doubt that the Wyath Toodle Mansion is home to a number of curious and potentially friendly spirits.
Alrighty.
Now, then there's the Beatty Mansion, built in 1854 by Armstrong and Eliza Beatty as their personal residence. The building originally consisted of just the east wing. Armstrong was the first banker in St. Joseph and was respected in wealthy business